Yeah, sure. My name is Daichi, and I'm a server here at Ikemen, also the hall manager. And I've been with Ikemen since the opening, which was August 24th of 2011. And we've been doing pretty good. It's been a steady incline of business, especially patrons from around the neighborhood. So that's probably been our biggest plus so far. Yeah.
Great. And did you have any noodle experience before you worked here?
Absolutely. I've served at multiple noodle shops.
Yeah.
I really like noodles. It's part of my diet. Definitely. And I come from the noodle capital of Japan, actually, Kyushu. We call it Hakata Ramen. And yeah, the city's called Fukuoka. I come from there. And yeah, we have some of the best out there. Definitely.
Cool. So what is the most popular dish ordered here?
The most popular dish here would be the zebra dip. We specialize in dip ramen. It's a new concept, I believe, in the States. Not a lot of people know about it. But it's where the noodles are separate from the soup. And you would take the noodles and the meat and you would dip it into the broth. The zebra dip has zebra garlic seasoning in it. The broth is a pork base right out of the stock. And what we do is we pour over charred garlic mixed with oil over top of the broth in a striped fashion, and that's why it's called the zebra dip. We don't exactly use zebras.
Okay.
At least not this year.
Because of the stripes when you pour it over?
Yeah, the stripes poured over would cause the stripe effect. That's why we call it zebra dip.
Excellent. What is your favorite ramen dish to order?
My favorite ramen dish order would have to be the tonkotsu ramen. Tonkotsu literally in Japanese means pork bones. And so the stock pot, when we're cooking the broth of the noodles, the stock would be made by pork bones. A lot of times in Japan, you'll find just pork feet. Like they'll use nothing but pork feet. The reason for that is the feet have a lot of joints in them. And so it produces a lot of collagen and gelatin. Which makes the broth very thick. Here we use all kinds of bones, all pork of course, all kinds, and so it's a great mixture. What happens to the stock broth after it's made, we overcook it so that the water evaporates, and once it does evaporate, it thickens, it condenses, and so once it does that, it makes for a beautiful broth.
What about your noodles? Do you make the noodles or do you get them from a noodle vendor?
That's a good question. We don't make them here, but we do special order them from a noodle company. They're called Sun Noodle. It's a Japanese noodle company. Both the thin noodles we serve here and the thick noodles are both custom ordered. And so when they produce them specifically for this one restaurant. Again,
Are the thick and thin noodles both considered ramen, or?
They're both considered ramen. Yes. Men in Japanese means noodles, and this place Ikemen. Ike means good. Men also means mask or face in Japanese. So this restaurant Ikemen, it's pretty much the name for good looking. Or good noodles. So when they come in, they can decide for themselves.
Or moist.
It's wheat and egg. So it's eggs, the wheat. We would mix them. You make a batter out of them, a piece of dough, really, and they would flatten the dough out, and then they would put it in a small frame where it gets cut. And a lot of places in Japan, extremely traditional places, they'll do that on their own.
Right.
So once the restaurant closes, over the night, that's what they would do. They would cut the noodles into very thin slices, and then they would cut them to a length that makes it very ergonomic for the person who's eating. This is the packaging for the thin noodles, and this is the packaging for the thick noodles.
And the company Sun Noodles makes them.
The Sun Noodle Company. And this thick noodle was especially hard to design. These are still raw in the packages. We don't freeze them or anything. They're very raw, so they're mandible, very mandible.
Yeah.
Once you freeze them, of course, the taste tastes a little different. This thick noodle was specifically designed to catch the flavor of the broth. In other words, when you would dip it into the broth, it would soak in a lot of the liquid. So as you're pulling the broth out, in order for the broth to act like a sauce for the noodles. The thin noodles, they don't adopt the taste as much, and so you get a more a sort of pure, more of an aesthetic taste to it. It's very subtle. So and a lot of people in Japan they're more of a thin noodle fan, especially the town where I come from. It's all about the thin noodles.
Why is that?
I'm not exactly sure.
Just
actually,
a preference?
yeah, they're more. I guess they're more used to it. It's a lot more traditional. The thinner they are.
Yeah, probably because it takes more skill to make them so
It takes
thinner.
more skill to make thinner, and it's probably since it's less. It's
Right.
less noodles. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
出してるんですか?
This is
鶏ガラ
the chicken broth.
chicken broth.
The chicken broth. And then.
So the stock pot to the left right there that you see that he's draining,
Uh huh.
that would be all the chicken stock inside, and we would cook the broth for about 6 to 8 hours for chicken. If you could get any more than that, it kind of becomes a little too thick for chicken broth. So you don't get that fresh taste. It tastes a little bit muddy if you do it anymore. The big stock pot to the right of that, at the very end, the big one
Behind him?
That would be the pork broth stock pot. That one we cook for about a good 10 to 12 hours. Yeah. And right here we have what we call what we call a refractometer, and it's a liquid density meter, pretty much. It's a barometer for liquid density, and that gets used every time we serve a pork broth based noodle. So every pork broth base, every bowl pretty much gets measured with the refractometer. You would look through the lens and it'll tell you the density, and if the density is just right, we're able to serve it. If it's not right, we have to remake it.
Okay. Can I see it? Is it?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I'm invading your space.
Yeah, so this would be the refractometer. What you would do is you would pour a little bit of the broth, the liquid right here. You would close it to compress it, and then you would look through this lens, right through that.
Right.
Yeah, if you can see. But then a little bit, and then you would see the density. Now, if you would put water in there, the density would be, of course, extremely low. There are 3 umamis in Japanese cuisine. Three tastes really that make the foundation for all Japanese cuisine. And that would be bonito. It would be kombu, which is thick seaweed, thick and dried seaweed, along with shiitake mushrooms. So those 3 mushrooms, thick seaweed, and bonito, they make the basis for all Japanese sauces, broths, all cuisine tastes really.